Welcome back, and in this part we are going to learn about functions in C++. Functions are one of the most important concepts in programming because they help us organize our code, avoid repetition, and make programs easier to understand and maintain. So by the end of this part, you will know what functions are, why we use them, how to create them, and how to pass data to them. Okay, so a function is a block of code that performs a specific task. Instead of writing the same code again and again, we put it inside a function and call it whenever we need it. Okay, think of a function like a machine. You give it input, it processes the input, it gives you the output. Okay, like how computers work. Okay, so why do we use functions? Functions help us reuse code, reduce errors, make programs more readable, and break big problems into smaller parts. Okay, so without functions, programs would become very long and messy. Okay, so let us take a look at the basic structure of a function. And the basic structure of a function, we can base on this one. Okay, on this main function. Most of you are if you haven't worked with C++, you haven't seen functions and you haven't used any of these functions. Okay, but for those who have been programming or learning or seeing C++ programs, you have ever seen these functions, and this one is the basic one, the main function. Okay, so let us see what. Let us take this. Let us use this one as the example, the main function as the example. So here we have the return type. In this case, it's an integer. We have this function name. This one is the function name. We have a pair of parentheses, and inside here, it's where we put what we call parameters. Okay, parameters that are used, okay, by these functions. Okay, that we want to provide, that we want to input. Okay, for this function to process and give us the output. Okay, so from there we have this pair of curly brackets. Okay, and this one it's where we put our code that we want this function to execute, want this function to run. Okay, that we want this function to run. Okay, so and this one we call it the function body. Okay, so let's explain this. The return type, it's what the function sends back. Okay, so this one is what the function sends back, and in this case we are returning a 0, which means success. Okay, so the function name is the name of the function. The values passed into the function, they are called the parameters. Inside here they are called the parameters, and the function body, it's where we put that code. We put the code that runs inside this function. Okay, so let us take a look at a simple function. We can create our own function. Let's do this. Let's go down, but I like putting all my functions at the top of the main function. Okay, or creating another file, but we shall take a look at that later. Okay, but let us take a look. So we create our function. We can create many functions. We can create a void function. This void function returns nothing. Okay, it can return something. Okay, but if we don't know what it's going to return, we just say void. Okay, so void, we can say void. We can say greet, pair of for parentheses and then curly brackets like this. There we have created our own function called the greet function. Okay, and we can greet members here. We can greet members. Hello members, like that. Hello members, like that. Okay, so from there let me explain this one. So the void means the function returns nothing. Okay, as I told you, and the greet, it's the name of our function, and to use this function we call it like this. We just go inside our main function because it's where the code that we want to run is put. Okay, so we just call it like this, greet. Greet, as you can see, we can get access to it. Greet, and then pair of parentheses, and then we add a semicolon at the end. Okay, so as you can see, so that's how we use our function. So, and if we try to save, and then we go inside our terminal, we try to compile our program. Let's wait, and we try to run our program. You're going to see we get hello members. Guys, you are now becoming advanced programmers. If you have run this program successful, you are becoming advanced programmers. Okay, so as you can see, we get hello members out. So we have run our function. Okay, so let us take a look at functions with parameters. Functions allow us to pass values into a function. Okay, so not functions, but parameters allow us to pass values into a function. Okay, so if we want to provide, for example, if we want to create a function that print the sum, okay, like that, we can do it like this. The sum of two numbers. Okay, if we want to create a function that prints the sum of two numbers, that gives us the sum of two numbers, we can just do it like this. We need to provide these two numbers to this function, and we create these parameters like this. Int a, like that, we just initialize them like that. Okay, but here we don't add the semicolon. Okay, we remove it. But if we want to provide more than one parameter, we just put a comma, we add int b, like that. Okay, we can add another one, int c, like that. Okay, but in this case we want only two parameters. Okay, so we can do it like that. So from there we can return, or we can just do console out. Or let me tell you, this one returns nothing. Okay, I told you it returns nothing. Let's see if it returns nothing. Let us try to use return 1. As you can see, so as you can see here, it's giving us an error. As you can see, this one returns nothing. So identifier is undefined. So identifier grid is undefined. So here, or let us change this one to be print sum, like that. So here we don't have a single error. So here we need to provide the argument. Let us provide 2 and 3, like that, 2 and 3. So from there, as you can see here, so the return value type does not match the function type. So this one should return nothing. Okay, so it should not have the return keyword. Okay, so we can remove it. Can remove this return keyword. Okay, but if we have int here, right here, so let us change this one to be int. So from there, this one is going to generate an error because we need to return something. Okay, so if we don't have that one, save. This one is going to generate an error because it has to return something. So if we try to compile, we save and go inside the terminal, we try to compile. Let's wait and see. So as you can see, warning, no return statement in a function returning as you can see. So we need to add that return statement. So if we add the return statement and we don't add a value, okay, anything, we save, we go in our terminal, we try to compile. As you can see, return statement with no value. So we need also to provide the value. And in this case, if we provide a string, it's going to generate an error. Okay, so we should provide an integer. Okay, and if we want to provide a string, let's try to see if we can provide a string. So there we have our string, and let us change this one to be of a string, like that. So let's wait. So if we have a string there, as you can see, we can return string like that, strings like that. And if we try to compile, this one is not going to generate an error. As you can see, we can run our program successfully. So let us try to see how we can use these parameters inside our function, okay, that the user provides inside our function. So let us go back to our previous part. This one is going to return, let us return a void, like that. So from there, let us try to add. Okay, so we are going to use console out, and we are going to do some basic mathematics. Okay, so we are going to get a plus b. From there, we add a semicolon, we try to compile. If we try to compile 2 plus 3, we are going to get 5. Yeah, 5. You can try to use your calculator. 2 plus 3, try get your calculator out and try to calculate. Yes, 2 plus 3, I think we are going to get 5, but don't try to use the calculator, use your head. So if we try to compile, as you can see, we get 5 out. Okay, so this is amazing. We can try out other parts. Let's see. So we have seen how we can call a function. Okay, so let us take a look at the functions with return values. We have seen them. So we can try, instead of using this one, we can just use return. Let's use return, and we change this one to be int because we are returning integer. So from there, this one is going to become valid, but we are not going to output this. This one is not going to be output. So if we try to save, we try to compile, and we try to run, as you can see, we get nothing. Okay, we get nothing. So in order to get this value, this return value, we should put this one inside the console out, and we save. So if we do that and we compile and we run, As you can see, we get our value 5. Okay, so because here we are just printing out the return value, okay, the return value of this one. Okay, so if we just remain with this one, we are not going to output anything in the console. Okay, we are not going to, it's like having just 6 and like that. Okay, it's like having 5 like that. Okay, so it's like having that one. Okay, that one. Okay, and in order to output 5, we do like that, and we output 5 in the console. Okay, so that's it. So let us take a look at function declaration, okay, which are called the prototype. So sometimes we define functions after main. Okay, so in that case we must declare them first. Okay, so if we want to declare a function after main, we need to declare them first. So if we get this function and we put it below the main function, we save. Okay, you should note that here we are trying to access a function that has not been initialized, that has not been created in this part. Remember, C++ executes code line by line from top to bottom. Okay, and if we try to access a function that has not been created, we are going to get an error. So let's try to save, and we see if we are going to get that error. So if we try to compile, as you can see, we have got a big error. So as you can see here, was not declared in the scope. Print sum was not declared in the scope. Okay, so we need to put it after. Okay, before this main function. Okay, so we can avoid that by doing what we call using a prototype. Okay, using a prototype. So we need to first declare them first. Declare this function first. Print sum, print sum like that. From there we just provide, we add these arguments. So we do like that, int, okay, like that. We can just do like that. Okay, instead of providing that here we need to have int a, int b, like that. We can just do like that. We can even add string like that as we want. Okay, like that, but it's better we remain with that. Okay, so we can do it like that. So this is called what we call okay, so here's need fine, we must declare them first. So here we have declared it. So if we try to save and we try to compile, let's see. So we don't get a single error. We run our program successfully. So that's it. So let us take a look at how we can pass arguments by value. Okay, how we can pass arguments by value. So by default, arguments are passed by value. Okay, so let's try to see. So if we try to get this one, here we try to access this one. Okay, so let us try to make this one to be having the default. So let us give a the default value. Okay, so let us set a to be equals to 10 by default. Okay, so let us see if we shall get 10. So here we have 10, which is a, and let us give them a default value. So let us set it to be 20. So here a plus b, we get 20, isn't it? Yeah, we get 20. So if we don't provide, let's see if we don't provide these values like that. Oh, we need to provide them. So let us provide 2 and 4 like that. We are doing some juggling. So if we try to compile, let us try to compile and run our program. As you can see, we still get 5. We get 5. Why do we get 5? Okay, so we don't get this one. So let us remove it and we add console out here. We save our program, try to compile and run our program. We get 30. So as you can see, we get 30. So we get these values. Okay, so this one we are just like reassigning. Okay, we are like doing reassigning. Okay, so let's see. So calling this function will not change the original value. So this one here we are changing the original value. So this one, if we try to call this function, it won't change these original value, these values. Okay, so this means a copy of a value is sent to the function. Okay, so let us see how we can pass arguments by reference. Okay, So we can also pass arguments by reference. For example, we can say this one, we can change this one to have ampersand. Let's change this one to be having the ampersand. Okay, so from there, now the original variable will be changed. Okay, so if we try to add ampersand here, and we try to change this one to here, this one like this. So if we try to save and we try to output, we are going to see that instead of getting 30, we are going to get something like we are going to get 666. Let's run. Oh, we get a big error. So let's see where that error is coming from. So here we have AB, we have C. So here we have no. Let's not use this one. Okay, let's take a look at default parameters. Okay, so let's not use this one. Let's go back. Okay, so let's go back. Let's see how we can create default parameters. So let's delete all of these. Okay, so we can make this one option. Okay, we can make these values option. For example, if we don't provide them, it will generate some errors. Okay, so if we have int a and int b right there, okay, so this one is going to generate some errors. Okay, so these arguments becomes a must to provide these parameters. Okay, here to provide these parameters as arguments to this function. Okay, so we should provide them like that. Okay, but if we don't want to provide them by default, we can do what we can use default parameters. Okay, we can set this a to be equals to be having a 0, and we can set this b to be having a 0 like that, or we can set it to be having a 3 2 like that. Okay, we can set b to have 4, can set it to have 3 like that. Okay, but I want to set them to have 0. Okay, so if we don't provide any value, we are going to get a 0. Okay, so if we try not to provide these arguments like that, so if we try to save, as you can see, we don't get a single error. Even if we try to compile, so wow, we get some big errors. Okay, so why do we get these big errors? Let's see. So error, too few arguments provided in some. Okay, so too few arguments provided. Yeah, okay, so not should not. So here, too few arguments, so we can provide them. Okay, so let's provide them 1 2 1 2 from there. If we try to save, we compile and we try to run, we get 3. Okay, so we get this one, okay, so but I wanted to change these ones. Let us try to change. So the default one, they are 0 and 10. Okay, so they are the default ones. So if we don't provide them, we save, we try to compile. Let's try to compile, although we get that error. Okay, we try to get, so we get 3. No, so let's try to remove this one and we try to put it up. Let us bring this function up, Control X, and then we put it there. We save and we go down here, we try to compile. As you can see, we can now compile successfully. Okay, and if we try to run, as you can see, we get a 0 out. Okay, so that's what I want to show you. Okay, so you can also do the other thing that I want to show you. Let's try it out. So let's do what we call something, but let's leave that as you as long as you have got the concept. Okay, so here we have provided default arguments. Okay, so 0 plus 0, we get 0. Okay, so we can also change these values here. As you can see, if we try to hover over this function, we get int a. Okay, by default a equals to 0 and b equals to 0 by default, and we can try to change them. We can try to change a Can we try to say that A equals, so in other programming language, we have the ability to say that A equals to that one, or for example, in Python, in Kotlin, we can say all that, okay? But in C++, we need to just provide, okay? So the first argument here, the first argument is A. So the first value that we provide is going to have to be stored in A. And if we provide 7, will be stored in B, okay? So if we try to save and we try to compile, after compiling, we try to run. As you can see, we have changed those parameters, okay? So we get 10. 3 plus 7, we get 10. So that's it about functions, and we shall take a look at functions, okay, in more advanced topics in C++, okay? Thank you.